On the night of January 31st, 2026, Nancy Guthrie was dropped off at her home in Tucson, Arizona at 9:48 in the evening. She was 84 years old. She lived alone. She was mentally sharp, active, and independent. Her son-in-law, Tommaso Cioni, watched her walk inside and drove away. That was the last time anyone who loves her saw her alive. At 1:47 in the morning, her doorbell camera went offline. At 2:28 in the morning, her pacemaker disconnected from her phone. By noon the next day, when she did not show up to watch a church service, her family went to check on her and found nothing. No Nancy, just her phone sitting inside, her belongings still there, and blood on the front step. It was her blood. Confirmed by DNA, the doorbell camera had been yanked off the wall. Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie, had been taken from her home in the middle of the night. Today, 100 days later, not a single suspect has been arrested. The sheriff leading this investigation is now fighting to keep his own job. The FBI says it was blocked from helping for the first 4 days, and the DNA evidence that could have cracked this case wide open was sent to the wrong lab, on purpose. By the time you finish watching this, you will understand why this case has gone nowhere. And the answer is darker than most people know. Let us go back to the very beginning, because the first hours of this story matter more than anyone has said publicly. Nancy lived at her home on East Skyline Drive in the Catalina Foothills neighborhood, a quiet area just north of Tucson. The neighborhood sits near the edge of the desert, where the roads get dark fast and the terrain gets rough fast. It is the kind of place where you could move a person in the middle of the night without being seen, if you had planned it out ahead of time. And that is exactly what happened. The person who took Nancy did not stumble upon her house by accident. A masked individual had already been spotted on her front porch on January 11th, 3 weeks before she disappeared. And again on the night of January 31st, the same night Tommaso dropped her off. Same mask, same porch. This person had been coming back. This was not random. This was planned. Whoever took Nancy Guthrie had been watching her for weeks. The footage that confirmed this, the image of a masked man reaching toward the camera, was released by the FBI on February 10th. An armed figure, face covered, hand outstretched toward the camera lens, destroying the evidence, knowing exactly what he was doing. But here is what most people did not know at the time. That footage almost did not exist at all. Nancy did not have an active subscription for her Google Nest doorbell camera. That means when the camera went offline at 1:47 in the morning, the footage should have been gone. Deleted automatically. Lost forever. It was not lost, because FBI Director Kash Patel personally called the leadership at Google and asked them to dig into the cache before it got wiped. And they found it. Patel said this himself in a podcast interview just days ago. And that detail opens up the one question this entire case now turns on. What else could the FBI have found if they had been allowed in from the very beginning? Because here is where this story gets darker. Kash Patel did not just talk about the camera footage in that interview. He went on record saying that for the first 4 days after Nancy Guthrie disappeared, the 4 most critical days in any abduction case, the FBI was kept out of the investigation entirely. 4 days. The first 48 hours of a golden window. After that, the chances of finding someone alive drop fast. And according to the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, his agency was locked out for 4 full days. Patel said, in close to his exact words, "We said we would take the DNA. We had a fixed-wing aircraft on the ground, ready to move it immediately through the night. And they sent it to Florida. The Pima County Sheriff's Department, the local agency leading this investigation, took the DNA evidence collected from Nancy's home and sent it to a private lab in Florida, a lab they had worked with before, instead of the FBI lab in Quantico, Virginia, which Patel called the best forensic lab in the world. And that private lab in Florida ran into problems. Sheriff Chris Nanos himself admitted the lab reported, in his own words, challenges with the mixed and partial DNA samples found inside the home. It took 11 weeks before that original hair sample was finally transferred from the Florida lab to the FBI laboratory for testing. 11 weeks. In a case where every hour matters, Sheriff Nanos has defended every one of these decisions. He says the FBI was notified from day one. He says a member of the FBI task force was present at the scene the night Nancy disappeared. He says coordination with federal agents began without delay. But Patel tells a completely different story. And the FBI released its own statement saying it had requested that evidence from the Sheriff's Department over 2 months before it was finally handed over. 2 months. So who is telling the truth? Because the damage may already be done. And Nancy Guthrie is still missing. But the problems with this case do not stop at the DNA. Retired Pima County Homicide Sergeant Aaron Cross gave an interview recently that opened a lot of eyes. He described the first response to Nancy's home as, in his own words, just chaotic. Detectives could not even communicate with each other. And then he revealed something that is hard to believe. The doormat on Nancy's front step, the one soaked with her blood, was reportedly left at the scene. Not collected, not secured, left there. Retired FBI agent Maureen O'Connell responded to that directly. She said that in a case like this, she would have taken the entire mat, the door itself, and the tiles around it, cut them out with a saw if she had to. Every inch of that area was evidence, and it was left behind. Then she was asked what Kash Patel's public attack on the sheriff actually signals. She said when the director of the FBI goes on a national podcast and openly criticizes a local sheriff by name, it means one of two things. Either the case is in far worse shape than the public knows, or the FBI is trying to protect itself ahead of a very bad outcome. Either way, Nancy loses. Now here is the angle that most coverage keeps skipping past. The Mexico angle. Nancy's home in the Catalina foothills sits less than 70 miles from the Nogales border crossing into Mexico. In the middle of the night, with no traffic, that is about an hour's drive. And if you know the back roads, if you have scouted them ahead of time, which the suspect appears to have done, you can move without being caught on cameras. Retired Pima County Lieutenant and former SWAT Commander Bob Krieger spent nearly 3 decades with the Sheriff's Department. He went back to the desert washes near Nancy's home just last week, with a Fox News crew. These are the dry riverbeds that cut through the Tucson desert. He said that someone who knew those washes could move from Nancy's house to an escape route without being detected by aerial cameras or infrared sensors. And he said there is evidence that someone may have been scouting those exact routes days or weeks before the night she disappeared. The FBI deployed equipment during the ground search specifically designed to pick up the Bluetooth signal from Nancy's pacemaker. They got nothing, which means either she was moved extremely fast, possibly across the border before sunrise, or the pacemaker was disabled, or something investigators have not told the public yet. And then there were the ransom notes, and what came next, nobody predicted. Multiple notes were sent to news outlets and to the Guthrie family in the days after Nancy disappeared. Savannah said in a public interview that most of the notes circulating online were fake. But, she said 2 notes were sent directly to the family. 2 notes they responded to, and she believed those were real. 2 ransom notes, real ones, responded to, and still no Nancy. A California man named Derek Calella, 42 years old, was charged with sending fake ransom demands to 2 members of the Guthrie family. He told investigators he had been following the case on television and found the family's contact information on a website. His trial is set for June 23rd in Tucson. He is not connected to the actual disappearance. The real kidnapper or kidnappers are still out there, unidentified, uncharged, unknown. And now the man responsible for finding them may not even have a job by the end of this week. At least 2 members of the Pima County Board of Supervisors moved this week to remove Sheriff Chris Nanos from office. Not over the Guthrie case, but because of allegations that he lied under oath during a legal deposition. Specifically, that he denied being suspended during his years as a police officer in El Paso, Texas, before he joined the Pima County Sheriff's Department in the 1980s. A disciplinary board in El Paso reportedly voted unanimously to remove him from law enforcement at that time. And the allegation is that he denied all of it under oath, decades later. Nanos has not resigned. Whether the board has the votes to actually remove him is unclear. One supervisor admitted full removal may not happen. But even the attempt has put this investigation in a nearly impossible position. The man leading the search for Nancy Guthrie is now accused of perjury, publicly attacked by the FBI director, facing a possible removal vote, and he is still the person in charge of finding her. When a reporter caught him outside his office and asked, "Are you getting closer?" he said yes, got in his car, and drove away. On Mother's Day, May 10th, Savannah Guthrie posted a video to Instagram. Home videos, family photos, Nancy laughing, Nancy taking selfies, Nancy sitting with her grandchildren. And in one short clip from what looks like a normal afternoon, The 84-year-old woman looks directly at the camera and says, "Miss you." Savannah wrote, "Mother, daughter, sister, Noni, we miss you with every breath. We will never stop looking for you. We will never be at peace until we find you." She ended it the same way she has ended every plea since February 1st. Call 1-800-CALL FBI. You can be anonymous. The reward is still available. That reward is now over $1 million. $1 million from the Guthrie family, $100,000 from the FBI. Tens of thousands of tips submitted, and still not one arrest. Former FBI Special Agent Scott Aldenbaum said the silence from law enforcement is not necessarily a sign the investigation has stopped. He said, "When a case is active, you do not tip off the suspect. You do not announce what you know. You wait, you build, and then you move." He said, "We are probably not going to hear much until somebody is indicted." Former president of the Society of Former Special Agents of the FBI, Michael Anderson, said investigators on long cases like this often bring in new people to look at the same evidence with fresh eyes. People who might catch something that got missed in the chaos of the first week. He has seen it happen. A detail someone forgot about, a name someone did not think mattered, and suddenly the whole case opens up. So maybe that is happening right now. Maybe there is a thread being pulled quietly that the public will not see until someone is in handcuffs. Or maybe the first 4 days, the ones the FBI says it was locked out of, already cost this case the one chance it had. Nancy Guthrie was born on January 27, 1942. She raised 3 children in Tucson. She had plans for that Sunday morning. A church service, a screen, familiar faces. She never made it. Savannah said it herself. "We still believe in a miracle. We still believe she can come home." But she also said, "We know she may already be gone. 100 days, $1 million, one masked figure on a doorbell camera. And no answers. If you know anything, call 1-800-CALL-FBI. Anonymous. The reward is real. And a family is still waiting. Here is what nobody is talking about yet. The DNA results from the FBI lab in Quantico, the ones that took 11 weeks just to arrive, have not been made public. Not a word. And the ransom notes that the Guthrie family actually responded to, the ones Savannah said she believed were real, law enforcement has never confirmed where those leads went. Those 2 threads are still open. And when they close, this entire case is going to look very different. We are going to keep covering every update as it comes. Stay close.